Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing some Overwatch and I'll be doing some Overwatch commentary. Not necessarily commentary on gameplay, but commentary on the hero, the one, the only, Symmetra, Indian goddess, beauty. Recently I've been playing a lot of Symmetra. I've always played Symmetra pretty much, even in her 1.0 incarnation. But then as 2.0 came around, I played more of her and I became sort of a Symmetra main. And then once 3.0 hit, I played a lot of Symmetra. And then I kind of fell off and played more Moira and played more of the support playstyle because I generally like support. But I have gotten back into Symmetra a little bit, so I wanted to bring 5 tips for people who might be just starting out with Symmetra and hope that it'll help them. Because I know I see a lot of this stuff happening, so maybe just take note and see what you can learn. So let's start with number 5. For my 5th point to help beginner Symmetras, I would definitely say keep your distance. Especially with her newer update, she doesn't do well in close quarters combat in most scenarios that I've been in. I find it much more easy to assess the situations from far, and then once I build enough confidence or I analyze the fight, then I will proceed in and do some damage. Always make sure you have an opening and make sure you know when you can strike. If you don't think that you're going to survive, probably best not to go into the fight. What I tend to do is stay back and shoot my secondary fire, my wonderful orbs, into the crowd and hope I land a hit. Sometimes you will have the situation where you're hoping to hit them, but of course, if you predict your tracking and you do some calculations in your head, you can have a better chance of hitting them. For my 4th point, it kind of ties into what I was saying with my 5th point. This being, use your teleporter to flank behind enemies if you find an opening to attack them. This typically catches people off guard. It might not always work because they might have their audio on and be paying great attention to it, and they might notice and turn around and fight you. However, there is also always a slim chance that when you use your teleporter, they might not notice. You can go in, and the teleporter also allows your other allies to rush in with you. And once you've rushed in, you can turn around, shoot some orbs, or if you have a charged auto attack, then you can do some damage with that. So also just use your teleporter wisely and keep it up. It's on a fairly low cooldown, so you know there's no harm in teleporting all over the place. For my 3rd tip, I want to talk about turret placement. Turret placement can be quite the difficult subject to tackle. In general, I would just like to advise newer Symmetra players to avoid stacking your turrets in one location for multiple reasons. First off, it will allow the enemy to quickly burst down your turrets. If they notice, they can just wipe them all out because they're in a single spot and it doesn't take them as much time. Secondly, you have a limited supply of turrets and they're on a cooldown. You have 3, you can place 3, and they have to recharge. So you definitely want to maximize the amount of effect you can get from your turrets by spreading them out. The one scenario where I will stack my turrets as much as possible is connected to my 4th point, which is teleporting behind the enemy. When I teleport behind the enemy, I find it to be the most burst of damage when I throw my turrets down, place the teleporter, and my turrets will spawn in the teleporter, portal to the other end of the teleporter, and start doing some damage. So yeah, I find that to be one of the only situations where I will stack my turrets in one place. is when I'm teleporting to flank and attack the other enemy. This will take some practice, I've noticed, and might not always yield amazing results, but it is definitely worth a try. And sometimes you can catch people off guard and just completely decimate a couple people before they realize what's happening, and then you can just take the teleporter out of there. For my second tip, I'd like to advise newer Symmetras to pre-charge your primary attack, also known as your microwave beam. I also like to call it the microwave needle, because you have to have amazing accuracy. Its hitbox is quite small, and the damage it does on its primary level isn't much. The way Symmetra's gun works is, for the primary fire, the longer you hold it down and the longer you're dealing damage to something, the more it will ramp up. And once it gets to its second level, the beam will do more damage and be a little bit wider. And by the time it gets to its final stage, the third stage, it will be melting enemies, and it feels like it's gotten even a little thicker and a little bit easier to control. Personally, it's not my favorite gun or weapon, and I find it quite weak in most scenarios because often I will use it out of desperation and hope to attack them, and you don't get much use. The only use you get out of it is when you pre-charge it on enemies' shields. This can go from anything from a Reinhardt shield to a Winston bubble shield to even a Brigitte personal shield. You can charge it and then go in and do some damage. Honestly, this weapon needs to be looked at more often, and improvements should be made. But overall, that's for another video. Pre-charge your beams and you'll be set. For my number one tip, I want to advise players, new Symmetras, that you should carefully calculate and use your ultimate barrier wisely. Even someone who has, I think, about 50 hours on Symmetra almost, more often than not, well, I take that back, not more often than not, but there are some incidents where I will mess up my ultimate and I will just place it in the worst position I could think of, and it will see little to no use. To quickly explain the ultimate, you summon a barrier that cuts the entirety of the map in half. It works similar to a Maywall where when you first cue it up, it will be placed horizontally, but then if you press it again, it will shift the lining of the barrier to be vertical towards your cursor. I often like to use the vertical positioning when juxtaposed to the character, so where when you spawn it, it cuts through you as well, because I find it more situational to aim it in that direction. I feel like if you cut it horizontally, it only affects a very small area. I can see where the horizontal would be useful if you're defending a point, but when I'm attacking, I like to place it vertically. Likewise, and additionally, place it at a slant, because I find slants also cover a wider area of battle. If you are in a payload map, for example, I find that to be the best use. So everyone, those are my 5 quick beginner's tips. Overall, the best advice I could ever give to someone who is looking to play a character or a hero more often, potentially main them, is definitely to practice, practice, practice. Get into quick matches, maybe play some arcade modes, and don't stress about it too much in the beginning. It's definitely a learning curve, and with learning, you want to feel satisfied. You don't want to feel angry. So keep that in mind. Overall, I really enjoy Symmetra. I have many problems with her, but when I'm in the zone and I play her effectively, I have a blast. And I feel like a lot of people can have a blast if they take the time to play Symmetra with a different mindset that they might apply to other heroes. Because Symmetra is no Tracer, Symmetra is no Reaper, and Symmetra is no Widowmaker. So play Symmetra as Symmetra. Other than that, thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you had a nice time with the information. Subscribe for more Overwatch videos. I'm planning on making another video where I go in depth on my thoughts on Symmetra, how they can, or how I think they should have reworked her, how they could rework her in the future, how they can adjust her current set, and all that wonderful jazz. Anyway, subscribe for more content, like the video if you liked it, and comment down below on your thoughts on Symmetra or another hero. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye everyone! Mwah.